Guys, Perigi here. In this video we're going to go and have a deep dive into the world of design systems. So we're going to basically have an overview, and I'm going to debunk some of the myths and as well talk about what are some of the most important concepts that you need to keep in mind as a designer working on design systems that are going to make your knowledge stand out compared to most designers out there. So without further ado, let's jump right into this Figma file, which is the design system of Uber. And let's talk about what a design system is and why it's important. And the very first thing that we're gonna do is we're going to talk about why should you use a design system in the first place. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to give you a basic overlay understanding. So a design system is going to enable you and your team to create a unified version of designs, which is going to essentially enable the entire company to have their branding in place, as well as not having to reinvent the wheel whenever it comes to adding new components or design elements to a project, so that you can have a structure which works at scale, such as the one in this case for Uber. So Uber have many designers working in many different offices, possibly all around the world. And in order to maintain their brand identity and the way that they communicate the values and the usability of Uber all around the world, they essentially going to have a design system which enables them to have this level of consistency. So as we dive deep in here, by the way, you can access the design system of Uber on this website, which is called Design Systems for Figma. And you're going to find some of the top design systems from some of the top companies out there. So you can see a lot over here. And as you can see, we have the design, the color in the design system. So you have all of the shades, and this is essentially going to enable you to have a very high level of precision whenever it comes to the branding, and each and every shade is there for a purpose. So if you're a designer hired at Uber tomorrow and you're working on a design project for them, you're going to have to stick to some of these color palettes in a specific way. So this is really important to structure at the beginning of any design project, really, especially the ones which are going to scale up. And as you can see over here, we have even things like, the backgrounds. So even backgrounds and content colors are all specified within the design system. And overall, there is a lot of minute details and considerations which are brought over here. And now we move on to the actual components. And before we actually talk about the components themselves, so for example, over here you can see the buttons which are used in the Uber app, as well as many other elements such as the pills, and different UI components overall. One thing which is really important to consider whenever it comes to the components within the design system is the bigger picture. And by that, I would highly recommend you to check out this blog post, which is Atomic Design Methodology. And it takes you a bit into the high level process whenever it comes to creating design systems. So it starts with this analogy where we're talking about chemistry, and as you may know, 2H2 plus O2 makes 2H2O, and or actually this is just an example and you can see that here we're talking about chemistry, but let me jump right into the core message right here, which is essentially thinking about different components in different structures. So over here we have atoms, we have molecules which are composed by different atoms, and then the organisms, which are created by combining different molecules, which creates templates and then pages. And the same can be applied to design systems. So you can see over here an example where we have the different atoms that compose this search component. So we have the label, we have the input, and we have the button. And these would become considered the atoms. So even here we have different atoms which are going to compose then the molecules, which would be the second step. And as you can see, this would be considered a molecule. So it's basically combining different atoms together into one. And the same approach you should have when it comes to creating design systems. So you should consider the individual atoms which are then going to compose the molecules, and then it's going to basically flow all the way into creating the final pages. So this is one of the key concepts to keep in mind. And design systems can really go to a very granular level of detail, as you can see over here. And it really depends on the project. Of course, Uber is a very big and large enterprise. They have a lot of designers, so everything has to be really spot on. In my personal experience, if you're going to work with smaller clients, or maybe just work on one-off projects, maybe someone needs a quick landing page, but there's no really going to be like an extent to that project in the future, so it's not going to branch out into an entire company identity. A lot of the times you can go by simply creating a very simple structure for the design system. And I pretty much always recommend to at least have a basic structure, because you never know how large a project can become, and you always want to have at least a basic understanding of what are the colors which are going to be involved within this branding, what is at least the basic typography, and at least creating some basic components for the design project. Now you can see how large this design system is. You go into really a lot of detail, especially when it comes to like components such as this one, when it comes to the calendar. And my personal recommendation would be to actually stop this video and go on this website right here, which is, in my personal opinion, is a gold mine, and have a look at some of the design systems from your favorite companies. You can easily simply go over here, click on any one of these, and then you can select the design system, click on get a copy, and you're going to have that design system copied as a Figma file, which you can edit within your account. So this is really super valuable, because you're going to learn from the pros. It's just like when you're learning how to draw. You take inspiration both from life drawing as well as the masters of the past, such as Leonardo, Michelangelo, and so on and so forth. So my best recommendation is to take some time, dive into these design systems, which are surprisingly available for free, so that you can learn how the best companies in the world are approaching their design system. Hope this video was helpful. I want to remind you that on my channel you're going to find over 700 videos on design and basically sharing my over a decade of experience. And if you're interested, I also created some courses which are teaching you all that you need in order to become a designer from scratch. So I'll see you in the very next video.